Tonight, human remains uncovered in the search for missing high country campers, solving a 20-month-old mystery. The pandemic bill that sparked weeks of protests, now a done deal. What it means for Victorians. National Cabinet holding urgent talks on borders as Omicron case numbers grow. A hit run at a COVID testing clinic in Collingwood. And Pies star Jordan De Goey home, his AFL career hanging by a thread after a New York nightclub arrest.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. There's a breakthrough tonight in the 20-month search for answers surrounding the disappearance of Victorian campers Russell Hill and Carol Clay. Human remains have been discovered in East Gippsland High Country. Cassie Zervos is there, and Cassie, a formal identification process is now underway.
Yes, Mitch, but police are confident this is the vital piece of evidence they have been searching for. Today was the first day of this intensive search operation, and by mid-afternoon, police confirmed human remains were found beyond this checkpoint behind me. The hands-on hunt for remains, finally finding the suspected burial site of two campers nearly 2 years after they vanished. Forensic experts spent the morning sifting through rubble, one scoop at a time. The task force worked through several dig sites at the Grand Historic Reserve at once. Forensic radar detection technology, a vital tool in quickly identifying human remains.
It's very steep terrain, and they're digging into the mountain rather than digging down.
Dargo locals brought in excavators to speed up the search.
Doing a bit of work up here, just trying to do the best we can, and helping out the police, helping out the families, and just trying to, eventually hopefully get a bit of closure for everyone.
The high country terrain challenging.
Rough, mountainous this sort of stuff, steep, yeah, definitely not easy.
This remote part of East Gippsland is just 30 kilometres from the campsite where the pair were last seen alive, connected by a remote winding road. While accused double murderer Jetstar Captain Gregory Lynn remains in custody, his information has led detectives straight to the site where they could find answers for the families of Russell Hill and Carol Clay.
And Cassie, the families of the pair have been notified.
They have, Mitch. Both families of Russell Hill and Carol Clay have been called about the discovery and say they are incredibly emotional. Police will continue to collect evidence from this dense bushland as the attention now turns to what led to this suspected double murder. Mitch.
Cassie Zervos at Dargo, thank you. The government has clinched a deal to get the controversial pandemic laws passed through Parliament. An independent MP's last-minute vote, as well as changes to the government's powers, helped break the deadlock.
The state government's knight in shining armour,
I did what had to be done, which was right,
is taxi driver turned crossbencher Rod Barton.
This is a far better bill than what we had, and we have curbed the powers of this government.
In exchange for his vote, which is needed to pass the pandemic bill, and as we face a new variant of concern, Mr Barton forced the state government to make 6 key changes. They include a special parliamentary committee with the power to recommend that pandemic orders be scrapped, the ability to block health orders with majority votes in both houses of parliament, a detention appeal panel chaired by either a crossbencher or opposition member, and allowing the Ombudsman to review complaints about detention.
I think we resolved everything. We have flogged this very thoroughly.
And the Law Institute of Victoria say they now support the bill that will replace the state of emergency powers. There are notable changes in important areas of independent oversight and scrutiny, but it's not enough for the state opposition.
They're Mickey Mouse amendments. They're not serious. We were there to work with them. Our phone never rang. They never bothered to call, which means they wanted to play politics from the very start.
They wanted 18 amendments. Mr Barton said he attempted to include them in negotiations.
We tried reaching out to Matthew last week. He was very busy apparently, but we wanted to speak to him about the bill. They've got their own agenda to run.
Have we met everyone's demands for a perfect bill? No, we haven't. But what we have managed to achieve is a piece of legislation that is going to be the best in the country.
And as for a secret backroom deal in exchange for his vote...
Well, that's typical of the opposition to come up with such a stupid comment like that. There's no deals. My relationship with the government and myself is frosty at the best of times.
We've engaged in good faith. We need these rules. I wish we didn't. I wish we could not necessarily need any rules. I wish this was over with a big full stop, but it's not.
Meanwhile, debate on the bill has resumed in the upper house.
Who else was consulted on this important bill?
A bill that is now a done deal. Well, the upper house is sitting right now. There's lots to get through, but they're yet to hold a vote. That could happen very late in the evening, perhaps even past midnight. So what it means is by the time Victorians wake tomorrow morning, the controversial pandemic legislation should have well and truly passed Parliament. Mitch.
Chanel Vella at State Parliament, thank you. To breaking news now, and Victoria has lost its first hospital nurse to COVID-19. Jade Vincent joins us now, and Jade, it's believed the frontline worker contracted the virus on the job.
Mitch, emergency nurse Jill Dempsey died with COVID-19 in intensive care on Sunday. Eastern Health says Jill, aged in her 60s, was fully vaccinated and otherwise well. She had been working in the emergency department at the Angeles Hospital for the past 14 years. The mother of 3 is being remembered as an incredibly caring night shift nurse. The nursing union says Jill's death is a tragic reminder of just how vulnerable our healthcare workers are, and they're asking the community to take every measure to help protect them. Mitch.
Thank you. National Cabinet has just met to discuss the new coronavirus strain Omicron, with the Prime Minister urging premiers to stick to their reopening plans. The uncertainty over international borders means a race against time for stranded Australians to get home.
Relieved to be back in the embrace of home, but these Australians arriving from Singapore are facing an unexpected side effect of the new Omicron strain: bureaucratic confusion.
We don't have the quarantine, so that we'll just get home, have a shower and freshen up and, get back into the real world.
The Duncans, same flight, different story.
Just as we were about to head out, they changed the rule, just say that we need to isolate for 3 days when we land.
Quarantine for return travellers is now mandatory, but Scott Morrison doesn't want it to go further.
We're not going back to lockdowns. None of us want that.
But has decided on a 2-week delay to tomorrow's planned reopening to 200,000 foreign workers and students, and travel bubbles with South Korea and Japan.
We're doing this out of an abundance of caution.
We haven't taken a step back with this deferral.
Not stepping back, but marking time, waiting for more reliable data on the new strain. A delay hotels, restaurants and bars worry will leave them without foreign workers as Christmas festivities fire up.
The hospitality industry is in a once-in-a-lifetime workforce shortage with nearly 100,000 open jobs.
And for international students not able to return, it means more late nights.
Online studies are not working for a lot of people. They are waking up in the middle of the night to attending a tutorial. It's simply not working.
There are fewer than 200 Omicron cases worldwide, though the South African Health Minister is cautious.
We know that as the infections rise, people will get sick, some will get severe, especially those who have not been vaccinated.
The World Health Organization says the global risk posed by the new variant is very high.
Although many of us might think we're done with COVID-19, it's not done with us.
30 mutations have been detected in the latest strain, but most of those infected so far are young and vaccinated.
And have very mild or in fact no disease.
Whilst it's an emerging variant, it's a manageable variant.
The US President has a similar message.
This variant is a cause for concern, not a cause for panic.
That's the message Scott Morrison gave the premiers at an emergency meeting of National Cabinet today, while imposing partial restrictions on the national border, wanting to keep state borders open.
We are going to keep moving forward into Christmas and into 2022, and we're going to open safely and we're going to stay safely open.
New South Wales and Victoria largely on board, but WA has shut its border to South Australia.
It turns out that borders and measures to keep people out who might be infected work.
And Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk says she's very worried.
The fact that countries have closed their borders indicates to me it is far more serious than Delta.
Fearing another Delta dawning.
And Mark Riley joins us now from Canberra. Mark, you have more details about the National Cabinet meeting.
Yeah, Peter, it broke up just a few minutes ago, and I'm told the strong message from Scott Morrison was that the information as it stands doesn't require any changes to the current quarantine regime and no further restrictions at this stage. Now, Chief Medical Officer Paul Kelly also advised the premiers on the latest health information about the outbreak, and sources tell me he relayed what's known, what isn't known, and then filled in the gaps with what he suspects, including that the current vaccines should be effective against this variant. There was a broad acceptance among the premiers that the pause over the next 2 weeks should be used to compile as much data as possible on Omicron before any further decisions are made. But as we've seen many times before, the states will and often do make their own decisions, Mitch.
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. And as we heard, the new variant of concern is now out in the community with exposure sites declared in New South Wales. While Victoria has no Omicron cases as yet, the focus is now on a vaccine booster trial that could help fight the new strain.
Melbourne scientists have developed a vaccine with the potential to protect against the latest COVID threat.
We really have very high expectation that this will be both safe and effective.
And it's being produced right here in Boronia.
Manufacturing part of this work has occurred in just 5 months.
Medical researchers at Monash University have been developing the vaccine, which targets a different area of the COVID-19 spike protein. Initially designed to combat the beta variant, it now has Omicron in its sights.
We're trying to protect against those new variants by raising antibodies which will bind to that slightly modified surface.
If given the green light, pharmaceutical manufacturer IDT has the capacity to produce 100 million doses a year.
The fact that we do have this manufacturing capability here in Australia, that we can do these things for ourselves.
Such a groundbreaking new technology, we know that if there is a need to make adjustments to the vaccines, it's not going to take a decade. It's a period of time we can count in weeks.
The vaccine will be trialled as early as January next year for 120 volunteers aged 18 to 70 who are already fully vaccinated. Initial efficacy and safety results are expected within the first 2 months of the study.
Be looking for its activity as a booster rather than a vaccine.
A 6th case of the new Omicron strain has been confirmed in Australia. A woman in her 30s who flew into Sydney last Thursday from South Africa and spent time on the New South Wales Central Coast. The variant of concern yet to make its way into Victoria.
Of course, these last couple of days show us that this virus is not static. It's going to keep changing and our response will need to be nimble.
Jade Vincent, 7 News.
A security guard has been hit by a car while working outside a Collingwood COVID testing clinic. Melina Saras joins us now. And Melina, take us through what happened here.
Mitch, there were dozens of people lining up for a COVID test here around 9:30 this morning. A security guard who was standing here on the corner helping people in that queue was hit by a white Holden station wagon when it mounted the curb and then drove off. The guard's head hit the windscreen of the car and he was thrown across the road. Nurses who were working at the COVID testing clinic went out to help him and gave him first aid before he was taken to hospital in a non-life-threatening condition.
Some people I talked to said that the guy just basically hit him and then reversed and took off up the slip lane. So there was a big line of people. There would have been about probably 30 people lining up for COVID tests.
Police arrested the driver in Carlton a short time later. The testing clinic here was closed after the incident and staff who witnessed it and went to help have been offered counselling. It is due to reopen to the public on Thursday. Mitch.
Melina Saras at Collingwood, thank you. A bombshell report into Ambulance Victoria has uncovered a toxic work environment. It's expected the most serious matters will go to police and victims will be offered financial compensation.
In a risky job, the biggest trauma many paramedics face is caused by their colleagues. It's been found that destructive behaviour is rife within the ranks.
It's been the organisational trauma that has affected people's mental health more than the actual job.
Ambulance Victoria is facing a major overhaul, sparked by a bombshell report by the Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission, which has exposed an unsafe working environment.
Sad that they care for us and they don't care for each other.
In the biggest report of its kind, more than half of the staff reported being bullied. Close to half said that they have been discriminated against. 17% said that they've been sexually harassed, and more than 21% said that they don't feel safe at work.
To look people in the eye, accept the fact that we've hurt and damaged them, and fix it.
Ambulance Victoria will actively seek to identify staff who have broken the law. 12 staff have reported sex crimes, while another 2 have been referred to Victoria Police over alleged sexual assaults.
You will not be protected within this organisation.
The response will include a new complaint system and financial compensation for victims.
This isn't about hush money, this isn't about anything like that. This is actually about creating an environment where these stories have to be told.
Ambulance Victoria has been given 2 years to transform itself. What has yet to be assessed is the impact the disturbing behaviour has had on services.
I like my job, but I want to be happy coming to work, and I'm not happy coming to work.
Cameron Bowe, 7 News.
A man has drowned while on a night out with friends at Docklands. The 19-year-old from Hoppers Crossing fell into the water at 1 o'clock this morning. 2 of his friends raised the alarm when he didn't surface. His body was found 3 hours later. Pies star Jordan De Goey is back in Australia after his arrest in a New York nightclub. His AFL career is hanging in the balance after being stood down by Collingwood while he's facing charges in the US.
The Collingwood star flew in from Los Angeles, arriving in Sydney this morning, not keen to chat.
Jordy, looking forward to being back in Australia, mate?
Sorry, mate, I won't be saying anything, thanks.
Jordan De Goey was in the US for an intensive fitness program ahead of what was going to be the most important season of his career, but a boozy night out at a New York nightclub ended in handcuffs. The 25-year-old facing 4 charges, accused of punching a man, then kicking him while he was lying on the dance floor. The troubled Pie stood down by Collingwood while the court case plays out.
How much do you want to win back the trust of your teammates?
It's a concern that he's found himself in a situation which absolutely, in the absolute best term, he's been in New York and got into a barroom fight that's seen him arrested.
Yep.
Regardless of what happens with the court case.
De Goey has hired some of New York's top lawyers to defend the charges. Like all returning overseas travellers, De Goey now spends 3 days in home quarantine. His next New York court date in just over a week on December 8, but that will be done via video link. De Goey ready to fight the charges and fight to save his footy career. Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
England has copped a blow ahead of the first test. Tim Watson, one of their stars, is in the wars.
He is, Mitch. English skipper Joe Root said it was scary. We'll have details ahead as wet weather in Brisbane forces both the tourists and Aussies indoors. Plus why the 5th test is now likely to be moved. And we speak exclusively to Damien Hardwick on his self-reflection tour and plans for Dusty's next big move in 2022. And Mitch, why the Storm are deeply offended by comments from one of their stars. I'll see you again soon.
OK, Tim, thanks. We'll catch you then. Schoolies are causing trouble on the Mornington Peninsula. Last night, a police officer was attacked. Next, the out-of-control parties putting locals on edge. Also, an 82-year-old woman in court for killing her own son with an axe. Judain Maxwell facing justice as one of the world's most anticipated trials begins. And later, a summer of high-flying fun over the Yarra to bring visitors back to the city. An 82-year-old woman from Melbourne's northeast has been sentenced to 15 years jail for murdering her son. Erica Hedegott killed 50-year-old William by suffocating him with a plastic bag and hitting his head with an axe in their Greensboro home last year. A court heard Hedegott believed she was dying and didn't think her son would cope without her. She tried to take her own life but was found still conscious. A police officer was injured after being attacked by a 15-year-old boy during schoolies celebrations on the Mornington Peninsula. Thousands of young revellers have packed Victoria's beaches as the party enters its second week.
The class of 2021 and 2020. Catching up on lost time as they celebrate Schoolies Week.
I think a lot of people have been playing it on the safe side just because they're just so grateful in general to actually be out.
The Mornington Peninsula Shire decided to tackle safety proactively, organising a 2-day Schoolies music festival.
I guess in the past we've always braced for impact for schoolies, but this year there was a real big shift to embracing them.
But on the Rosebud foreshore last night, a party that got out of control. Fireworks on the beach, hundreds singing and dancing by the water.
There was this incredible amount of noise out here on the foreshore.
Drunken revellers could be seen on security footage scaling walls nearby, one of them falling into a recycling bin. But when police came to disperse the crowd, one of the officers was allegedly attacked from behind. Police say an acting sergeant was simply keeping watch when he was punched to the head in an unprovoked attack. A 15-year-old boy was arrested and charged. The officer spent the night in hospital.
Take care, look after your friends and stuff. You know, if they're looking like they're going to do something stupid, pull them away from the crowd and, kind of say, all right, do the right thing.
Pretty much every year at schoolies, something happens. Just got to hope you're not in the middle of it.
Christy Cooper, 7 News.
One of the world's most anticipated trials has begun in New York. Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend and alleged partner in crime, Ghislaine Maxwell, is charged with sex trafficking. The British socialite is accused of operating a pyramid scheme of abuse, with Epstein recruiting and grooming 4 young girls. The 59-year-old's lawyer says Maxwell is a scapegoat, being unfairly blamed for the bad behaviour of men. Acclaimed Indigenous actor David Dalatingu has died at the age of 68. In a career spanning 50 years, he rose to fame under another name. In accordance with custom and his family's wishes, Dalatingu is the surname we will use here. And a warning to Indigenous viewers, this story contains images and the voice of a deceased person.
Oh, Mick, you frightened shit out of me.
A cinematic icon,
Long time ago.
Dalatingu was always destined to be a star.
I enjoy myself when I'm acting, but really, full-time, I'm a dancer.
A Yolngu man from northeast Arnhem Land, these skills and him a leading role in Walkabout as a teenager. The silver screen was his platform, titles including Storm Boy, Mad Dog Morgan, Crocodile Dundee, The Tracker, Rabbit Proof Fence. He was in Australia with Nicole and Hugh and feted around the world. He met Bob Marley, Jimi Hendrix, the Queen.
And then the Queen said, "Oh, don't be shy now. You want to come here?"
There was a bad patch involving alcohol and jail, but he bounced back.
David Gulpilil, Charlie's Country.
Winning Best Actor for Charlie's Country in Cannes in 2014. And accepting a NAIDOC Lifetime Achievement Award. From Kathy Freeman, thank you for the inspiration. Dalatingu is survived by sisters, sons and daughters.
My spirit will return back to my country. I will miss my children, and I think of them, and I love them.
He lost his battle with cancer at 68, but lives forever through film.
Oh, no, you can't take my photograph.
Oh, I'm sorry. You believe it'll take your spirit away?
No, you got a lens cap on.
Tom Hartley, 7 News.
Vale David Dalatingu. Jane Bunn joins us now, and Jane, ironically, a cracking end to spring.
Mitch, it sure is good to feel that warmth. Today reached 31.6, but that was our one and only day over 30. Thanks to La Nina, it is a cool peak this spring, well short of the average. Speaking of cool, you weren't imagining it. When you add it all up, this was our coldest November in nearly 50 years. The rain was partly to blame. There was lots of it. We had nearly 100 millimetres more than average. Now summer begins warm and humid. The full details are after sport, Mitch.
That sounds good too. Thank you very much, Jane. Golfers are teeing off over plans to turn their course into parkland. Next, the Pink Ladies taking on Darebin Council to save Northcote's 9 holes. Also a damning report into the culture at Parliament House. Tiger Woods opens up about his playing future after a near career-ending crash. And Prince Charles in Barbados to see the Caribbean nation ditch the Queen. A battle is brewing over the future of a popular golf course at Northcote. Darebin Council wants to turn it into public land after lockdowns made it a popular picnic spot. But golfers are fighting back.
The Pink Ladies of Northcote take their golf very seriously.
Of course, the 19th hole is always the good one, you know, the nibblies and the drinks after you've, finished golf.
Walking the course together, a kind of therapy.
It's not just the golf, really, it's the interaction and friendship we have with the other women.
But during lockdown, when golf was banned, other locals enjoyed walking and picnicking on the greens so much, Darebin Council's considering replacing the course with a park. But golfers believe there is a way for their club and the community to coexist.
We are just simply asking Council to give us a fair hearing. The Northcote Community and Golf Hub, we reckon, is the most comprehensive vision because it's a win for the environment, it's a win for ratepayers, it's a win for the community because we want to build a hub where people who aren't golfers can come and enjoy.
They've done a letterbox drop of more than 34,000 homes to drum up support and have the backing of Golf Australia.
This is where people's golf journeys start, and from that perspective we see that public golf courses are incredibly important assets for the game in introducing people to the game.
The community has just 2 weeks left to have its say on the proposal, with Council expected to decide the fate of the golf course by March next year. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
A damning report into the culture at Parliament House has exposed a workplace where bullying and sexual harassment have been normalised. The review found a third of people working in federal Parliament have been sexually harassed, but most don't report it.
Brittany Higgins' decision to speak up ignited a movement which shook even the highest levels of government.
I do thank her for standing up and speaking up.
Her allegation that she'd been raped by a Liberal colleague in Parliament House sparked a review of the workplace culture in Canberra. It found a third of the staff currently working at Parliament have been sexually harassed. 37% have been bullied. 1% had experienced actual or attempted sexual assault, but only 1 in 10 victims of sexual harassment reported it.
We heard that people are often punished for reporting misconduct.
A culture fostered by a lack of leadership and a misuse of power.
This is a landmark document reflecting decades of problems.
It made 28 recommendations, including targets to achieve better gender balance, codes of conduct for MPs, senators and their staff, alcohol policies to restrict availability and an independent standards commission. But if today's antics in the Senate are any indication, there is a long road ahead, with an unknown coalition backbencher accused of growling like a dog at Jackie Lambie while she asked a question.
I mean, really? Growling, Mr. President.
And if we are going to change culture from the top, that means all of us.
Rob Scott, 7 News.
Tiger Woods has spoken out for the first time since shattering his leg in a high-speed car crash outside Los Angeles. The golf great revealed doctors were considering amputating his right leg, but intensive rehabilitation has him back on his feet and swinging a club.
I'm able to walk on my own now. I still struggle going up or down. And then the next progression is, can you walk without a hitching the giddy up. Well, that's going to take time too.
Wood says he hopes to resume his professional career on a limited basis. Prince Charles has watched on as Barbados removed Her Majesty as head of state. One of the new republic's first moves was to name singer Rihanna a national hero.
On this tiny island nation, a celebration at midnight for a new dawn. Prince Charles, a guest for the moment another country slipped away from the British monarchy.
Declare Barbados a parliamentary republic.
The Queen replaced by a Barbadian head of state.
I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Barbados.
Charles was born to be King of Barbados. Instead, centuries of shameful history here have caught up with the crown, a past the Prince of Wales couldn't ignore.
The appalling atrocity of slavery, which forever stains our history, the people of this island forged their path with extraordinary fortitude.
Now, this nation of nearly 300,000 says it's taking a confident step forward. One of its first decisions crowning singer Rihanna as a national hero.
May you continue to shine like a diamond.
Just 15 nations retain the Queen as head of state. Could Australia be next to fall?
The third decade of the 21st century, it has to be time. Yes, we are next.
In a written message, the Queen says she takes great satisfaction in knowing Barbados will remain part of the Commonwealth, but Her Majesty's reign is slightly more diminished tonight. Another bastion of a once mighty empire cutting ties with a 1,000-year-old institution. In Bridgetown, Barbados, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
A new plan has been unveiled to hit hoon drivers in the hip pocket. Next, cracking down on not just the drivers but the spectators as well. Also, why a big bank is facing a fine of more than $100 million. And the new city attraction, but only for the high flyers. A state MP is pushing for new laws to crack down on dangerous hoon gatherings. If passed, more councils would be able to fine the drivers and their spectators.
It's a plan to save lives by putting the brakes on dangerous hoon meets.
All of the spectators are there on the side, and you know, half of them actually want to see these people crash their cars.
Justice Party MP Stuart Grimley is introducing a private members' bill this week, proposing 2 changes to the Road Safety Act. Anyone who attends a hoon meet or parks near one could face fines of up to $1,500.
You take away the crowd, you take away the motivation.
The plan is modelled off local laws introduced in Brimbank, Frankston and Dandenong councils, but Mr Grimley wants the laws enforced statewide.
Shutting down a hoon event in one council area just tends to make it pop up in another council area which doesn't have those local bylaws.
Hume City Council says it would support the proposed penalties.
It's very dangerous, very serious, it has potentially fatal consequences, and there's far too much of it occurring in our city.
Police have been targeting hoons all year as part of a statewide operation, making several arrests. They're keeping a close eye on known hotspots. Now lockdown's over and summer is here.
Current legislation just doesn't go far enough because all it does is it just focuses on the driver.
One road safety advocate wants authorities to go further.
Provide these young people with a venue, bring them off the open roads and don't have them doing things slyly.
Ashley Kanowski, 7 News.
Westpac is facing a fine of more than $100 million for widespread compliance failures. They include charging financial advice fees to more than 11,000 deceased customers. Westpac has agreed to pay $80 million compensation to affected customers. A new attraction is about to hit the skies above the Yarra River to lure Victorians back into the city. The Firefly zip line will deliver daredevils from Federation Square to the Alexandra Gardens.
It's a new thrill for Melbourne's high flyers. Lord Mayor Sally Capp was the first to officially take the leap of faith. Are you a screamer?
No comment.
Soon the answer was revealed. The Firefly zipline is a 130-metre trip across the Yarra River from behind Federation Square to the Alexandra Gardens.
That is so much fun. There is nothing like this in Australia, a zipline that takes you across a major river in a capital city.
It's a way to see Melbourne like you've never seen it before.
But it's for a limited time only, 4 weeks from tomorrow.
We are closing in on 7,000 tickets sold and just a handful left.
I think it's also going to be fun to position yourself to watch the faces of people as they hurtle across that river.
Once you take that heart-stopping step off 9 metres up, you just hold on and enjoy.
It's a quick thrill. It's all over in about 20 seconds. It speeds of up to 40 kilometres an hour. The big challenge is to not scream.
Who doesn't want to feel thrilled after 20 months of being in pandemic mode?
That was great fun.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Tim's got his ticket. He's next with sport. And Tim, the Ashes schedule has hit another curveball.
It has, Mitch. The 5th test could be up for grabs. We'll tell you why next and how the MCG could host another test this summer. The Aussies and England preparations take another hit ahead of the series opener at the Gabba. Damien Hardwick speaks exclusively to 7 News on his American adventure. Plus, big plans for Dustin Martin next season. The Storm in damage control after one of their departing stars unloads. And the contenders line up as Bathurst roars back to life. Welcome back. Just a week away from the Ashes opener, the headaches are mounting for Australia, England and administrators. While rain is severely hampering both sides' preparations, WA Premier Mark McGowan has effectively shut the door on hosting the 5th test.
First day out of quarantine and straight to a photo shoot for the Aussies.
Yep, eyes back to the camera.
Before linking up with the whole squad.
We got a team meeting tonight and just to get together really, so it'll be good. Looking forward to it.
As the rain poured down, washing out practice, any prospect of a Perth test has also been dampened by the WA Premier.
So we've said to them, you need to have 14 days quarantine. They can't just bring wives and girlfriends with them. It's up to them whether they want to adhere to those rules or not.
I don't see why the families who are part of our bubble wouldn't be allowed to move into state with us.
Cricket Australia is still negotiating with the Western Australian Government. Usman Khawaja doing his best to keep close with Chairman of Selectors George Bailey, while Cameron Green is hoping to thrive in his first Ashes series.
Yeah, that'd be nice. See how it goes. I'm sure if we're not getting the practice in, England aren't either.
England says it won't be distracted by the racism scandal at County Cricket Club Yorkshire.
I'm not saying that we've always got things completely right. We haven't, but we clearly have to keep looking to get better.
Ben Stokes was back in the nets after being struck in the forearm.
Obviously, a scary. We all know how crucial he is within our squad.
Here at Junction Oval, the Stars and Renegades are gearing up for the Big Bash League with the first fixture in Sydney this Sunday night. English players headline this season's signings, including Reece Topley and Joe Clark. The Renegades also holding high hopes for 19-year-old local Jake Fraser-McGurk.
It'll be good opportunities for the young players to get in there and show what they can do, and hopefully I can sort of cement that when the big dogs come back.
Laura Spurway, 7 News.
Triple Premiership coach Damien Hardwick has detailed his self-reflection tour that hopes to propel Richmond back into finals. Hardwick spoke to 7 News about his plans for a fit-again Dustin Martin and replacing Trent Cotchin as captain.
Arriving home from the US on Sunday, 72 hours of quarantine has Damien Hardwick itching to return to Punt Road.
I was meant to be at work on Monday, but a couple of extra days, so I'm driving myself a little bit insane here, to be perfectly honest.
Typically heading overseas for study, a tired Hardwick hit the refresh button, having missed finals for the first time since 2016.
This was more about a self-reflection journey for me, more so. The one thing I do like to do is I do like to read a fair bit over the course of the summer and delve in a little bit what makes Damien Hardwick and what can make him better.
A trimmed-down Dustin Martin sure to excite. Plans to unleash the superstar in contested training, pending doctor's approval in January, and back to the engine room in round 1.
Look, ideally, we probably would like him a little bit more midfield time, but, we're looking to improve this year through that middle part of the game. The contested ball and clearance numbers last year weren't the level that we'd like them to be.
And as for the captaincy?
Dustin, is he well qualified? Yes, he is, but there's certainly a lot of other candidates who'll be just as well qualified as Dustin.
Martin in contention alongside Grimes, Rewalt, Vlosten and Graham to replace Trent Cotchin.
Whether it's a more experienced candidate or a younger candidate will predominantly be picked by the players. They'll pick the person that is best for the job.
Mitch Cleary, 7 News.
The AFL will release the men's fixture next week with the second half of the season floating similar to this year. It's to allow flexibility with any COVID chaos and to schedule primetime games based on form. At the Magpies, Captain Scott Pendlebury, Steele Sidebottom and Taylor Adams train with the first to fourth year players. The senior players not officially due back until next week. Prize father-son recruit Nick Dacos enjoying his first official session. Collingwood session yesterday was delayed due to COVID isolation. Hooker Brandon Smith has caused a stir at the Melbourne Storm. In an expletive-laden podcast, Smith spoke of Storm players cultivating a drinking culture and wanting to win a premiership with the Sydney Roosters. Storm CEO Justin Rotsky says these statements have deeply offended current and former players, and the club strongly rejects the comments made about the Storm culture. Smith is due back to training next week. Now, Panorama roared to life 6 days before the Bathurst 1000 with practice and qualifying for the support acts in this year's 10-category feast. While reigning kings Shane Van Gisbergen and Garth Tander received their official plaque, Anton De Pasquale looms as the man to spoil Van Gisbergen's crowning as Supercars champion.
First sort of time you come over Mountain Straight and you come down that dip, you feel, and you're like, okay, we're at Bathurst again.
It's De Pasquale's first Bathurst for Dick Johnson Racing. Not sure about Brandon Smith's reception when he gets back to Melbourne Storm, by the way.
Yes, exactly right, Tim. Thank you very much. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, what's on for the first day of summer?
Mitch, it's warm, it's humid, there's lots of sunshine, but there is the risk of an afternoon thunderstorm. The details are next. Hello again. Spring has ended with a warm one and we're staying warm for the start of summer. There are no more cold nights for now. We only fell to 14. Then it quickly warmed up this morning, reaching a top of 31.6 in the city this afternoon. That was our one and only 30-degree day this spring. There were 6 days last year. After a sunny morning, a field of cumulus cloud popped up again like yesterday. Now this time, as thunderstorms in New South Wales, they've come closer to our border, but as I suggested, they aren't quite crossing through. All of that comes tomorrow. It is warm across the state, but onshore winds in Gippsland do cool it down a few degrees. A high to our east makes it warm, and troughs to the west make it stormy with rain. Now today, all of those storms are in Queensland and New South Wales, but from tomorrow, Victoria has a trough too. So we're entering a pattern of warm and humid weather. Lots of sunshine ahead of storms popping up in the afternoons. Now this shows where they are a risk tomorrow, but within that area, they're hit and miss. Here's how the storm area could look on Thursday. The trough is slowly moving through, so the storm area does too. In Melbourne, for the next 2 days, it is warm and humid with lots of sunshine. Enjoy. There is the risk of storms each afternoon, but that means at least 90% of the day should be dry. In terms of temperature, it is warm for the next 2 days. We'll cool off for Friday and Saturday, but after that, it warms up again for Sunday and Monday. Around the nation tomorrow, rain and storms in Brisbane, showers and storms in Sydney and Canberra. Warm in Hobart, 28, the chance of a late storm. Sunshine continues in Adelaide and Perth. To Victoria, patchy early fog ahead of another warm to hot day with lots of sunshine. But it's humid and there are showers and storms about mainly during the afternoon. Then the trough brings a cool change to the far southwest at night. Closer in, warm and humid, we have a sunny morning. Then this shows much of the Melbourne area is at risk of an afternoon thunderstorm, all that blue. Now within that area, they are hit and miss, hitting one suburb and missing the next. And there's hardly any right at the coast. That all clears out during the evening. The city is a warm and humid top of 31. Lots of sunshine like we had today, but there's the risk of an afternoon thunderstorm. To the 8-day outlook, we repeat on Thursday. I'm expecting it to be a warm and very steamy one. I'm expecting about 32. Lots of sunshine again. The risk of thunderstorms late afternoon into the early evening. Now with that one, we get a cool change. So it's 20 on Friday. Showers clear by dawn. It should be dry. Dry on Saturday. That's the coolest with 19. Warming up again. We may go into another afternoon stormy patch as we enter next week. So warm and humid for the next 2 days. Lots of sunshine. Lovely like today. But there is the risk of afternoon thunderstorms. So it might hit your house, Mitch, and Miss Tim's.
We'll put the dog away. Thank you very much indeed, Jane. And that's the way it is this Tuesday, the 30th of November. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.